Prepare for the TOEFL listening section with this sample conversation. Listen to the conversation, answer the questions about it. Check your score at the end of the video. Review the conversation to understand the correct answers. Subscribe for more TOEFL listening practice with conversations.
Come in. Jason, thanks for stopping by. How are you doing today?
Hi, Professor Davis. I'm all right, but honestly, a little stressed. I wanted to talk about my grades. I've been struggling in your class, and I'm worried I'm going to fail. I'm also on academic probation, so I really can't afford to mess this up.
I understand, Jason. I appreciate you coming in to talk about it. Let's start by going over where you stand in the class. I've got your grades here. You scored a 58 on the midterm, a 62 on the first paper, and then a 54 on the last quiz. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds right. I've been trying, but I just feel like every time I study, I'm not retaining the material, or I don't fully understand what's expected on the assignments.
I see. First, let me say that you're not the only one struggling with the material. It's a challenging class, but I also know you've been engaged in class discussions and your attendance is solid, so it's clear you're making an effort. Have you had a chance to review your graded assignments and quizzes to see where you're losing points?
I've looked at the feedback, but honestly, I don't always understand what went wrong. Like with the paper, I thought I was making a clear argument, but your comments said it was too vague.
Let's take a look together. Here's your introduction. Your topic was interesting, but your thesis wasn't specific enough. You said you were going to talk about the impact of globalization on local economies, but you didn't specify which local economies or how globalization was affecting them. The more focused your argument, the easier it is to support it with evidence. Once your argument is clear, everything else in the paper tends to fall into place.
That makes sense now. I guess I was too broad and didn't narrow down enough. I feel like I have a general understanding of the material, but I'm not sure how to express it in a way that meets your expectations.
That's not uncommon. The gap between knowing something and effectively communicating it can be tricky, especially in writing. Improving this will not only help your paper, but it'll also strengthen your understanding of the material itself. When your arguments are clearer, your grasp of the subject becomes more solid. How are you structuring your time when you prepare for assignments and exams?
I've been kind of all over the place. I try to study in the evenings after work, but sometimes I'm too tired. And I'll admit, I procrastinated on the last assignment. I know I should be more organized, but it's hard to balance everything.
It sounds like time management might be a big part of the issue. What's your schedule like outside of class? You mentioned work. Are you working a lot of hours?
Yeah, I work about 20 to 25 hours a week at a restaurant. It's not ideal, but I need the money to cover rent and other expenses. Between that, classes, and trying to keep up with homework, I just get overwhelmed sometimes.
I can see how that would make things difficult. Balancing work and school is tough, and it's important to recognize when you need help. Have you spoken to any of the academic advisors about your workload or time management strategies?
I haven't, but I've thought about it. I guess I've been too embarrassed to admit I'm struggling.
There's no need to feel embarrassed. College is hard, and everyone needs help at some point. The university has a lot of resources for students in your situation: academic advisors, tutoring centers, even the counseling center if you're feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes just having someone help you map out a study schedule can make a big difference.
Yeah, that might actually help. I guess I've been trying to handle everything on my own, but maybe that's not working.
Exactly. You don't have to go through this alone. Here's what I suggest. First, visit the academic advising office and see if they can help you figure out a schedule that balances your work and school commitments. Second, how about we meet once a week for the rest of the semester to go over the material and make sure you're on track? I can help clarify any concepts that aren't clicking, and we can also review your next paper outline before you start writing.
That would be really helpful, actually. I've been trying to keep up on my own, but having regular check-ins would probably keep me more focused.
Great. And as we work on your next paper, focus on narrowing down your thesis and finding specific examples to support your argument. Not only will that make your writing stronger, But as you improve the clarity of your arguments, you'll find the rest of the course content starts to become easier to grasp, too.
That's good to hear. I was starting to feel like it was.
No, it's not hopeless at all. You've already taken the most important step by coming in and asking for help. Now it's about putting a plan in place and sticking to it. Do you feel comfortable with the idea of visiting an advisor and scheduling our weekly meetings?
Yeah, I'll stop by the advising office today, and I'll email you to set up our first meeting. Thanks so much for taking the time to help me out. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Jason. I'm here to help you succeed. Don't hesitate to reach out if anything else comes up. I'll see you in class and look forward to working with you.
Thanks again, Professor Davis. I'll make sure I stay on top of things from now on.
You're welcome. I know you can do it, Jason. See you next week.
One. What is the main goal of Jason's meeting with Professor Davis? Two. Why does Professor Davis believe Jason should visit the academic advising office? Three. What can be inferred about how Professor Davis feels about Jason's situation? Four. How does Professor Davis suggest Jason can improve his thesis and overall academic performance? Five. What does Professor Davis mean by the word vague in relation to Jason's thesis?